I'm very excited. Why
As
am I
am
so
I.
excited? Good.
Because it's a big deal.
What is going on? Excuse me.
It's okay. You froze for a minute, but we're good. We're good.
Terrible. Shocking start. Hello. Hello, everyone. What a perfect way of starting off the celebratory stream of 150 episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen. This is a little bit different, isn't it? What are we doing this on a weird Friday night for?
Well, Friday night for you.
Well, that's true. Friday night for me.
It's a nice
But
Friday
yes,
afternoon for me.
still a Friday. Friday is an unusual day for streaming on It's a Wonderful Podcast, Janine. It is usually a
Yes.
Sunday or a Monday.
Yes.
We don't know what's going on. But yes, happy 150 Morgan Hasn't Seen.
Which
That is
means
what...
Which means
Yeah.
you've seen over 150 new movies to you that you've never seen before.
Yes, in the last, 3 years?
Yeah.
Not 3 years,
Oh,
that doesn't make sense.
2 years?
When did we start it? Was it like January 2020?
Because it was when Endgame came out, which was 2019.
Why are we only on 100? I'm getting... Do you know what? Funnily enough, Janine, we've just literally talked about it on this past Wednesday's episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. I don't understand the passage of time.
No, you don't.
I really don't. I do not understand the passage of time at all. So I've got absolutely no idea how long we've been doing Morgan Hasn't
Any
Seen
show,
for.
because we just show up, we do it, and then we go about our lives.
But I know
it's hard to keep track of that. I'm shocked that you even kept track that there's been this many episodes, because I just love kind of just coming here talking about it and then going off. So
well, that's because the episode number's always in the title. That's why I know. It's literally... I can count, I just can't understand the passage of time. There is a difference there.
Okay, fair enough.
But we are very excited today because we have something special. We have something a little bit different. Because it's the month of love. We're talking romance movies on the show this month anyway.
Yes.
We thought, well, what is a significant portion of the Morgan Hasn't Seen history? And what is your admittedly favourite type of movie, Janine?
Rom-com/romance films. So we've actually covered quite a few on the show, maybe about over 20 at least. So because it is the month of love, because we're already covering romance films on the show this month, I thought it would be fun to kind of go through and pick our top 10 romance/rom-coms that we've covered in the history of this show.
Terribly sorry about this. Haven't got a clue if you can hear me or not.
Yes, I can hear you.
Technical problems are absolutely rampant at the moment. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yes.
I've no idea what just happened. I do apologise. Weirdness.
That means you have no idea what I just said.
Absolutely no idea what you just said. I'm really
and I said
sorry.
it so well. I said it so well too.
I'm absolutely convinced you said it as beautifully as ever, Janine. I really am. But it could have been anything, and you could have called me a horrible name. I was going to say an actual horrible name there, but I thought better of doing that. But yes, top 10 romances, Janine. Top 10 romances. We're going to take it nice. It's a chilled stream. It's a celebratory stream. I have a cup of tea. I actually think I need to put my glasses on, to be honest.
No.
Because I can't see.
Well, I can see.
I can see. It's just the light's annoying me. So there you go.
Very nice.
Now I've got a weird
distinguished
glare.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. What are we doing? Why my mind's all over the place because I've had 2 technical problems to start the stream. And I
Well,
don't know
what I
where my
said when
mind's
you
at.
could not hear me
Yes.
is that, yes, because we're covering romance already on the shows this month, because it is the month of love, because we've covered so many romance/rom-coms on this channel, we thought it would be fun to count down our top 10 romance/rom-com films that we've covered in the history of this show.
That is exactly what we're doing. I'm going to take my glasses back off because I can't stand the glare. I'm all over the place. I do apologise. It's Friday. I'm in a weird mood.
Yes.
That's what I mean. I
Friday.
don't usually speak on a Friday.
Freaky
I'm usually
Friday.
very quiet on a Friday. Unless you listen to the main show, of course, in which, go and listen to today's main show, Mae West in all her glory.
Yes, definitely a fun discussion had about an iconic actress, performer, lady.
We're not here to talk about the main show, though, as good as the main show always is.
Yes.
That's coming up for 200 episodes.
Oh,
so we'll
goodness.
be certainly doing something special for that, as it is the main show. But Morgan hasn't seen 150 episodes. We are going to do this top 10 as an alternating situation. We don't know each other's lists, which I thought was more fun. We toyed with the idea of trying to make the stream perhaps look a bit better, but then we thought we'd have
Let's keep it a surprise.
Yeah, let's keep it a surprise. We'd have to know what each other's lists are to do that. So we've been secretive about it. And I think, personally, that Janine's going to hate some of my list and really appreciate some of it as well. She's probably also going to be quite sad that 1 or 2 did not make a top 10 at all. But we're going to alternate. Should we do it in the sense that if you have a movie that I say for 10, but you have it at 4, we leave it until you're 4, and vice versa.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In the sense that, what's the point in talking about the same movie twice?
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? Makes sense. All good. Right. Who wants to go first? The fun thing is, as well, is we're going to put it on the screen in a little banner thing at the bottom of the stream. So I'm gonna see what Janine picks right now.
Oh goodness. Okay, Janine. I think you should go first. You go first.
Well, you want me to go first? Okay.
Yes.
I will go first. Morgan, I have to type it though, so God knows I can't see. It's so far away. I'm using my wireless keyboard. My number 10 is. How should we format it? I'm going to put #10. Because that constitutes a number.
It used to, anyway.
My number 10, Janine.
All right.
She's All That.
Oh my goodness.
She's All That made the top 10. Because She's All That is an excellent teen movie.
Okay, well, Morgan.
Yes.
That is also my number 10.
Oh, it's also your number 10. This is perfect. This is so good. We don't even need to redo the number 10. She's All That, Janine. A mutual number 10. Thank you, Dio Karen. Happy 150. Michael in the chat as well has also said happy 150. We love you guys for popping in. She's All That, number 10 on both our lists. What are the chances of that?
Yes.
It's because it's a really good teen movie.
It is.
A very early episode in Morgan Hasn't Seen's history. I think it's in the 20s.
Yes, we covered teen movies. That was the series we were covering, and this was, of course, iconic in that realm. It was actually the first romance-type film we covered on the show. Episode 25. Yes.
I can't believe it took us 25 episodes to actually cover a romance movie at all.
Yes.
Given it's you and forcing me to watch movies. Although in the early days, I suppose it was more about fairly big name movies that I hadn't seen, which we kind of got rid of those quickly. And now it's more unique, kind of more well thought out series these days, Janine. You take a lot of time to think of the series.
I do. I have fun really kind of formulating all of that. So,
But yeah, I really like She's All That. It's fun. It's a fun teen movie. It's got all the tropes you want in a late 90s teen movie. Freddie Prinze Jr. The fact that
yes.
the girl, who for some reason I forget the name of now, which is unfortunate,
Rachel Lee Cook.
Rachel Lee Cook, is actually perfectly attractive just regularly, but of course she takes her glasses off, Janine, and wears her hair down, and all of a sudden she's the best looking girl in
Well,
the entire room.
I
Not
think people always
discounting
miss.
the fact that she's perfectly good looking to begin with.
Yes, but I think they actually throw a line of dialogue in there that people always kind of miss. That she's just kind of weird and inaccessible. So she's just kind of to herself. She's hard to get to know. So that is kind of more of the deterrent
Yes,
than her looks.
I do remember that. I do remember that. It's just a trope, isn't it? It's a
Yes,
trope
it
you
is. It
play on.
definitely was the biggest thing I think that was played on in another movie we covered during that same series, Not Another Teen Movie.
Mm. I love that scene in Not Another Teen Movie. He's just like, oh, she's wearing overalls and has glasses.
Glasses and a ponytail. Oh, bombs away. Like,
Oh, I love it.
yes.
I love it. But I remember really loving the teen movie series in general, to be fair.
Yes.
And I think from what I well, She's All That is the most romantic of them all, given the fact that, there's a whole dating situation, the walk down the stairs and the red dress and all that.
Yeah, because I think we also covered Cruel Intentions, Varsity Blues. Those were not inherently romantic at all.
Cruel Intentions, weirdly romantic.
Yes, there is romance in there, but kind of, covered up with all kinds of teen sexiness stuff that just,
Cruel Intentions just always comes across as the slightly incestuous movie.
Yes.
Which it is. I'm sorry, Cruel Intentions, but it is. But She's All That is a wonderful teen movie. And I put it on here because looking over all the movies, because we had a list of all the romantic-based movies, I've based my list a lot on what I actually like. A lot on the actual movie itself. Some are on the specific romance within that movie. But I've tried to, have a little bit of a mix of what I think the better movie is going up the list and what I think the better romance is, even though the movie may not be, as good as some others that are slightly higher on the list. I've took time, Janine.
I appreciate that.
I've took
like,
time to
you weren't
think
just
about
kind
this.
of like
Unfortunately,
movie as a
Janine,
whole.
you have gone quiet for me again, so I am going to do away with whatever nonsense sound thing I'm using.
Okay.
And try something different. In fact, I apologize. I really do apologize. I hate it when this sort of stuff happens. I really do.
But you have a beautiful accent.
I mean,
so
as far as I'm aware,
people like to hear you apologize.
I just can't hear anything. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Hello.
I think people like to hear you apologize. So, with your fancy accent.
Janine, I apologize. Please entertain people for a short time.
I chose She's All That just because it is a movie of my generation. And I was really excited to kind of see if you were gonna hate it because of all the tropes that kind of happen with it. And it's why I've kind of avoided watching the remake of He's All That, because it just kind of just totally shits on what an awesome movie this was of its time. Just a lot of fun. Definitely created a lot of teen movie tropes, but still very adorable in its way. So
it is an adorable movie.
Yes, I was
I
just
heard that.
talking about, yes, why I enjoy this movie so much. Just definitely spoke of my generation, of my time. So it's just kind of that nostalgia thing for me that plays with this movie. And when you're in high school and you're a teenage girl, you want to have the popular guy like fall for you, and like it's like a very kind of fantasy fulfillment as a girl who was not that girl, who was a bit of
So,
a Laney Box, so yeah, kind of vicariously living through these, flashy teen movies in my youth. So,
I mean, that was certainly my high school experience. I was, of course, the lonely, inaccessible teenage girl who just wanted the popular sports boy
to notice you.
Yes, exactly. Which is, of course, why She's All That is at our number 10. Admittedly, Janine, I care about the movies higher on this list a great deal more than I care about She's All That.
Yes.
I just thought this deserved a spot. Just a
Yeah.
spot. Just right at the bottom. And it was nice. I apologise as well for the audio situation that I'm struggling with. Nobody else is struggling. You lovely people watching this stream are not struggling. I, for some reason, are struggling. And then when I go to the settings to actually check the sound, it's fine when I press the test sound thing. So I really don't know what's happening.
Oh, I'm sorry. But I said everyone likes to just hear you apologize with that fancy accent. So,
I apologise a great deal.
I don't think anybody's disappointed.
I do apologise a great deal. Janine, number 9, I think.
Number 9.
Well,
am I sharing my number 9, or should you go and
I
see?
thought I was
see where we
going
meet up?
first. It was just
Okay.
this happened to be the
Yes, go for it.
rule number 10. If we have a mutual number 9 as well, Janine, I will be most upset.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I'll be upset, to be fair.
I'll just
But
be
my
surprised.
number 9, just surprised, yes. My number 9 is long pause. No real reason. Something new.
Oh, okay. Well, I have that higher up on my list.
Okay, well, we will leave that to talk about later then. Janine, what is your number 9? Please add your banner.
I think you're going to be pleasantly shocked and
Pleasantly
surprised
shocked.
and surprised.
This
we
is
had a
the
slight
surprise
debate.
is
We had a slight debate on if this movie even counted. And I forgot to put I got too excited.
debate on if the movie counted.
So my number 9 is Blackula.
Janine, that says hashtag Blackula,
Yes,
which
I know. I was
love
too
greatly.
excited. I just got too excited to tell you.
I also must admit Blackula is higher on my list.
Okay.
So what are we on now? Would it be my number 8?
Yes. And I think Morgan has frozen.
Very much apologize. Friday hates me.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday.
Really, really horrendous. I really do apologize about this. This is so... it hasn't been this bad for a long, long time. I do not know what's going on.
You're giving off a Hugh Grant vibe right now with all of the British apologizing. It's very on theme. It's very on brand for what we're talking about right now.
It's probably very appropriate. Would it be my number 8? Is that what we're on now?
We are number 8. Yes.
My number 8.
Yes, your number 8.
I'm sorry, you're just going to have to really bear with me because I'm in a ridiculous... I'm not even doing anything technically wrong. It's just going silly.
Yes.
Oh dear, everything's falling all over the place.
It's perfect. It's totally on brand. We're always a little sloppy, so it's fine.
You know what? It's not sloppiness.
Just embrace it.
It's just
live,
Janine. That's
just
all.
Embrace
it's just
it.
live. People should know that. I just get nervous when I'm on camera. Anyway, my number 8. That just says hashtag what it is again. Idiot.
See, I did the same thing. I was just so excited. And I don't use hashtags as numbers anymore. So it's like, yeah.
Don't you dare. Oh, no. I think I'm okay. Sorry. What am I on?
Number
No,
8.
that says hashtag again.
8.
I can't see it. I'm sorry. It's so far away from me. My number 8. Apologies. My number 8 is the American President.
Oh, I have that much higher.
Oh, goodness. We're never going to actually end up talking about any of these movies, are we? I hope you are enjoying this show, Michael. This is live content at its finest, obviously,
Yes.
isn't it? Janine, what is your number 8 then?
My number 8 is...
This is going to end up being the worst top 10 in live stream history, isn't it? See, I do not have The Wedding Singer on my list. So there you go.
Really?
The Wedding Singer. Adam Sandler and his stupidness.
Yes, but you liked this one.
Yes, I think I did like this one, actually. But it did not make the list, Janine.
Well, we did a whole series on Drew Barrymore. So I think all of her movies actually ended up being a big chunk of this list that we compiled of everything we'd covered, because all of her movies were rom-coms. So this was the 4th rom-com we'd covered on the show, episode 29, our Drew Barrymore series. I absolutely love this movie. Like, this is kind of a great era of Sandler. I was a fan of like his really goofy, ridiculous stuff from the start, like the Billy Madisons, the Happy Gilmores, and then kind of veering into this romantic territory was a really nice side. You got like a less of the kind of crazy, goofy, hoobity doobity Adam Sandler. You got like a sweet romantic Adam Sandler. Of course, a little bit of the hoobity doobities in there, and his chemistry with Drew Barrymore is so great.
I just love that everybody universally refers to it as hoobity doobity Sandler, and everybody knows exactly what you're talking about.
But his chemistry with Drew Barrymore was really great. I liked the story. The 80s setting was really fun. You had a romance that you were kind of rooting for because, Drew's character was with this terrible person. The whole kind of wedding setting, him being a wedding singer and her being a waitress, and that kind of dynamic, and the time we got to know them together and them spending time together and building that kind of relationship and friendship was really cute to see. Great soundtrack as usual. He's a big kind of music guy, so he always kind of really cultivate some really good soundtracks for his movies. And so, of course, this being an 80s movie, you get great 80s music used really well throughout. Some really kind of funny, memorable moments, particularly the Grow Old With You song, very like great big kind of romantic gesture at the end with some comedy thrown in there with Billy Idol. So just so fun. Just kind of love all the little pieces that kind of make it stand out a little bit different, making it take place in the 80s, and just their chemistry, and having the wedding singer kind of environment setting be your backdrop. It's kind of a different thing. So just a lot of fun to see Sandler in this kind of romantic light, not really doing kind of the full-on ridiculous over the top thing that we kind of only saw from him up to that point. So yeah, really, really love this movie.
I do agree with what you're saying. All I remember, though, about The Wedding Singer is that you actually made me watch another movie around that same time that was an Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore rom-com that I far preferred to The Wedding Singer, but we never covered it on the show, and that was 50 First Dates.
Because we left it up to Twitter. I believe we put a Twitter poll because I couldn't decide.
How do you remember that? So long ago, I don't remember last week.
I remember that because I remember that's why we didn't cover it on the show. Because we only had so many days and there were no other Drew movies that I wanted to give up. I wanted to keep music and lyrics because I really enjoy that movie. And I was kind of curious to see, if you were going to enjoy that chemistry between, her and Hugh Grant and all of that.
Who I have apparently turned into.
Yes. all the rapid apologies
Yes.
with the accent. I didn't want to give up Ever After. So, there were movies there that I just didn't want to let go in the 4 movies that we had time to cover. So it was kind of like a debate. Okay, what do you guys think I should choose for Morgan to watch? Which is like, Wedding Singer or 51st Dates. And when I kind of told you the premise of 51st Dates, you were more inclined to want to cover that. But we went by the Twitter poll and they all said The Wedding Singer. So we ended up covering that. But I still had you watch 51st Dates. So you could kind of, since that was one you wanted to watch anyway. And then we could kind of bring that discussion into the Wedding Singer episode. So I think we kind of do talk about it a little bit in the Wedding Singer episode, if I remember. But I do remember giving you the opportunity to watch it kind of separately on your own because it didn't win the poll and you did seem interested in watching it.
Frighteningly sorry for the freezing again there. I don't know if you could even tell that I froze, but I certainly could.
No, I could not tell.
Yes, look, I know The Wedding Singer is a change of tone for Sandler, but I just can't help but have in my mind that I preferred the movie 51st Dates that we didn't even do actually on the show.
Okay.
So it didn't make... I think 51st Dates, had we have actually done it on the show, would have made the list. Because I really did like that movie. The idea of that movie is very nice to me. And it admittedly turned me around somewhat on Sandler being somewhat enjoyable. And I mean somewhat. I do mean somewhat. I don't mean entirely. I mean
in the
somewhat.
loosest form.
And also it's got, your favourite Twitter arguer, Rob Schneider.
Yes, of course. But I will throw out there.
Who actually spoils the movie, in truth, whenever he's in it. I like every scene with Sandler and Drew Barrymore, and I really don't like every scene with Sandler and Rob Schneider in that movie. But I appreciate that you put this on, Janine.
Yes.
I like that you put this on, definitely.
And just to throw it out there as an honorable mention, since I did bring it up, was music and lyrics. I was debating on where to put that because I do love that movie. I was very surprised by the chemistry between Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore because I did not think it would work. The original music in it is really funny. The premise is really fun. So almost made my list. Music and lyrics.
Music and lyrics. Music and lyrics is the one with the stupid song at the beginning, isn't it? What's it?
Yes.
Oh, how does that song go?
Pop goes my heart.
Oh, yes. Pop goes my hat. That's brought back a memory, Janine.
Yes.
Pop goes my hat. I'm gonna have to listen to that later on.
Yes, like the music was pretty solid in that, like 80s pop group.
I mean, I wouldn't say solid. It was awful, but it was supposed to be awful, and that was the point.
Yes.
Pop goes my heart, at least.
Yes. I mean, the fact that you're saying you want to go listen to that song right now.
But because it's just catchy, and I know it'll be in my head, and I'll be going about the day tomorrow going, Pop goes my heart. And it'll just be ridiculous.
So yes, honorable mention, music and lyrics. Okay. What is
this if not ridiculous, Janine? Are we on to...
You are number 7. You're number 7.
Freezing. Have I froze again? Are we on to the number 7s, Janine?
Well, just say thank you.
Now I can't hear you again. Oh, it's horrible.
Michael is enjoying himself.
Ever had a worse stream than this. Not in terms of enjoying the stream, just in terms of what on earth is happening. I can't for the life of me tell you what's happening. I mean, I really can't. I'm at a loss.
It's okay.
I'm absolutely at a loss.
We will continue on.
I cannot apologize profusely enough. This is so incredibly aggravating.
It's okay. We're good.
I don't know what to do. If anybody has any idea of what to do when there's nothing wrong with your audio, but it just cuts out,
I think we need Steve.
Then please
he's been our tech guy.
Because I need help, clearly. Yep, the audio's absolutely fine, as a surprise to nobody. No, that's not the audio I'm trying to go on now. No. Any?
I'm still surprised we've only had one kind of matchup so far.
Now I've frozen again. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Right.
Can you hear me?
I think so. For goodness sake, my mind's absolutely all over the place. I really don't know where I'm at. You're going to have to help me, Janine, I'm afraid.
You're on number 7. You're number
I'm
7
on
pick.
number 7.
Yes.
Are we just going to leave this? I also couldn't tell you why the internet keeps going out either. This does not happen.
Okay.
This does not happen. It's just very, very unusual. And I'm going to keep apologizing. And I apologize for apologizing. What am I on? What am I on?
You are on your number 7.
My number 7. Right. I'm sorry. Terribly sorry. Right. I just have no train of thought. And when I have no train of thought, I struggle to actually say anything that makes sense. I can't type now either. This is the worst possible way this could have gone.
It is fine. This is fun. Just relax. We're having a good time.
I know. I am having a good time. This is just unbelievable to me. That's all. That it usually happens once. My number 7.
Okay.
My number 7, and it's just gone off because I didn't save it.
I don't know if we'll finally have a match here. Let's see.
My number 7 is How Stella Got a Groove Back.
Okay, well, I don't have that on my list at all. So go on, sir.
I put this at number 7 because I just think this is a very sweet movie. It's Taye Diggs in prime Taye Diggs doing that ridiculous Jamaican accent that is not his own, and he just sounds ridiculous. I was not a fan, but I equally was a big fan of Taye Diggs' ridiculous Jamaican accent in How Stella Got a Groove Back. But I do think it's quite unique in romantic movie sense, in rom-com sense, because we're used to kind of rom-coms being fairly, between two people of, well, if not similar ages, certainly not usually older women, younger men, and certainly not in this style of someone getting their groove back.
Yeah, and I think,
after a certain time, after, being unlucky in love for a long, long time, this isn't a rom-com about young people. This isn't a rom-com about two people in the same time of life.
Yeah, so you have like a complication there that you're kind of working through with this one. It's not as straightforward, and it's not as stereotypical a problem that kind of interjects at a certain point in your love story. Like there's kind of a miscommunication, or you have your stereotypes of like the one glitch that causes a problem in your third act that you have to resolve. But this is an issue that is an issue from the start of this relationship all the way to the end of it that we see. So definitely kind of a different take on a romance when you're dealing with something like age.
There's nothing typical about this movie in a rom-com sense.
Yeah.
Which is why I put it on this list. I had to put it on this list for a unique factor alone. Also because I think it's a really sweet kind of charming, was because, even I think Taye Diggs is supposed to be 21 in this movie or something like that. He's really young.
Oh no, he's 20. He's 20.
He's 20. He's like a really young character. Yeah. And Angela Bassett, by the way, is beautiful as ever.
Yeah, she still looks gorgeous. So just a little backstory on this for the show. We covered this on the 70th episode when we were doing Black film double features. So we were doing, this was a great series I loved, where we did a double feature of different genres, kind of similar to what we're doing with the romance right now on Morgan Hasn't Seen. So we did 2 black rom-coms, we did 2 black horror films, we did 2 black action. So this was when we were covering 2 black romance films. So we did a double feature of this film and Brown Sugar for the 70th episode. So a little backstory on why we were covering this movie.
Hi.
Hello. But yes, I was very. I'm like, okay, I'm liking that you have this on your list. Definitely,
Yes.
a unique romance film that kind of sets it apart from other ones, and like it's great to kind of see a black kind of led film be a little bit mainstream, because kind of that whole terminology, how Scylla got her groove back, is kind of like a pop culture kind of idea now because of this movie and because of the book that it's based on. So you hear that kind of heard a lot when an older woman kind of is stepping out into her own, or dating a younger man, or kind of getting back into the swing of life. So
feels almost Mae Westish, doesn't it?
Yes.
Perhaps is also why it's on the list. Just because I was in that kind of mood. Although I don't think Angela Bassett is in any way as forward as Mae West is in some of her movies.
She's very kind of reserved in this one.
She's
very hesitant to even get into this relationship.
I mean, Taye Diggs is kind of the one who's like, yeah, come on, then.
Yes, age does not matter. Let's go for this.
Which is a nice mentality to have.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't really matter. Yes, most people, end up in real life with people similar age to them. Couple years, even 4 or 5 years, whatever it may be. You rarely get 20 years as an age.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we're talking about in this movie.
Like she's 2 years younger than his mother or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is like you said, a big point of the movie, a big interesting factor. But yeah, just for unique reasons alone, and I just remember the atypicalness of it as a rom-com.
Stand out, yes.
Makes it stand out to me. So yeah, I felt I had to put How Stella Got a Groove back on this list. Janine, your number 7.
All right, my number 7 is Just Right.
Not on my list. Okay. Not on my list, Janine. Go ahead.
So this one just felt always very relatable to me. I was always that girl with the hot best friend who would get the attention from the guy, and like you feel like you have so much to give a person. You are a person of value. You're funny, you're smart, you contribute to situations, and you're helpful, and you're a good person, but all of that is overshadowed when you're standing next to your super hot best friend. And so when she's in these situations, Queen Latifah's character and like her very attractive best friend / god sister is always in the room, she gets overshadowed. And so those kinds of feelings felt so relatable to me. And then to see someone, who, is a heavier set woman, a bigger woman, still gorgeous, and those things shouldn't matter. You never really see them get to be the lead in anything like a romance type movie, or never get to see them kind of get the guy. So just to see a beautiful woman who is not a size 2 get to be the romantic lead in something with a super attractive guy, like that is not something you see all the time. So that always made that movie stand out to me for sure. And it just felt so relatable in the essence that, I was always kind of felt like that girl who always got overshadowed. Anything that I valued about my personality always kind of just got trampled on when a more attractive person was next to me. So yeah, I definitely felt a lot like this character and related to her. So I loved seeing that kind of love story play out.
I mean, I get that as well. I have felt instances in my life of being the less attractive one in a duo, for example, or in a group of people. And
I don't know how that's even possible, but
people may say it is a personal feeling. I would also say the same to you of what are you talking about, as I'm sure would many other people. This is a personal feeling situation, Janine. That's the relatability factor of a movie like Just Right. Now, obviously, I relate to Queen Latifah very little for many, many reasons, really, given the fact that me and Queen Latifah probably couldn't be more different if we wanted to be. But the idea is still the same. Yeah, the idea of feeling almost
overshadowed all the time.
Overshadowed, yes, but inferior to others.
Even though you know that you're a great person, you know.
Yeah. It is. It is fun in that way. It's got a little bit of. She just loves basketball. Is this the one where she just loves? That's that one, isn't it? Am I mistaking the movie
she's a
where she
physical
just loves
therapist.
basketball? It's
She
common.
is a huge she's a huge fan of basketball. She runs into this really great basketball player, like one of her favorites from her team. Scott McKnight.
Yes,
she helps him with his gas tank to get it open because he has this fancy new car.
I apologize. Yes. I almost confused it with what was I thinking of? Don't know what I was thinking of. I was thinking of the right movie anyway.
Yes.
Don't know what I'm talking about.
She has a great rapport with this guy until her god sister comes around, who's skinny and gorgeous and Paula Patton, and she ends up kind of overshadowing the great dynamic she already started building with this guy. And I've been there so many times, way too many times to count. So definitely like some relatable moments that really kind of hit home for me and really had me kind of rooting for this character because she's gorgeous. So why can't she be seen because of some societal idea of like what is beautiful, and this kind of surface level, kind of shallow interest? Because so yeah, I feel that one on a personal level, so that's why it's kind of up there for me.
I mean, admittedly, one of my favourite things about the movie is the fact that Common's a star basketball player, given the fact that he's about 5'5".
I would give him a little more than that, but
he looks so tiny compared to all the other basketball players, though, in the movie. I remember that. That was funny to me.
Yeah.
Is it like the Jets as well, when the New Jersey Jets were still a thing that he plays for?
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's them.
Yeah, I think so. And the Nets.
Oh, the Nets. New Jersey Nets. What am I? Yes. New Jersey Jets. Who's New Jersey Jets? Is that hockey? That might be hockey.
Yeah, it's the Nets, I believe.
The Net, yes, it's the Nets, because the Nets now are Brooklyn Nets, aren't they? They were the New Jersey Nets.
Yeah, not the
That's
Jets,
right.
But the Nets. When you're a Jet, you're a Net.
This isn't West Side Story. That's a romance for the ages. What version of West Side Story does everybody prefer? Obviously, the other one. Although, you may like the new one.
Yeah.
You may like the new one. Morgan hasn't seen the new West Side Story.
I have not seen it either.
Not because Morgan refuses to watch the new West Side Story because he's too into old movies, just because I've not felt a massive desire to watch Oscar-y movies this year.
Wow,
don't know why.
That's disappointing. Well, I think award shows kind of have lost their luster with this new kind of vibe. Like the Golden Globes didn't even have like a broadcast. They just kind of said these are the winners.
It's getting weird.
So it's hard to care about that kind of stuff, especially when even the things that they're picking are just not.
You like the movies you like, Janine.
Yes. Which is what we're talking about here.
Exactly. And you are interested in seeing the movies you are interested in seeing. And that's where my mentality is at. But there you go. Just right. Janine's number 7. Is it my number 6 then?
It is your number
That is
6.
how counting works.
Yes. You said you
My
knew how to
number
count,
6.
so.
I do. My number 6 is actually. You know what? I'd quite like it if this was on your list, to be honest. But it is on mine.
Okay.
It is. My number 6 is. No, it is Love, Simon.
Oh, not on my list.
Yes. As I remember, I actually referred to this movie a lot as just Love, Simon, rather than
Love
the comma
Simon.
wasn't there, rather than Love, Simon, and it just made me laugh. Michael says he's not seen the new West Side Story, but he's deeply looking forward to it. Well, go and see it then. Hasn't it been out for like several months?
Yes. Well, up to this series, Love, Simon was the last romance film that we had covered on this channel.
Yeah, I mean, we should clarify actually the current series of Morgan Hasn't Seen does not show up in this list. We did not have it as options to choose from.
No.
But Love, Simon, again, for the unique factor of it, when we were talking about our LGBT movies.
Yes, episode 128 for this
it
one.
was the only one that really focused on the romantic aspect of it.
Yeah.
The others, I remember, well, the others were actually, to a point, all drag movies.
Yeah.
It was more about loving yourself rather than loving anybody else.
Yeah, because we had The Birdcage, we had Tu Wong Fu, and we had Kinky Boots. So yes, it was all more about that kind of aspect.
I suppose the romance between Robin Williams and Nathan Lane in The Birdcage is a romance. And a nice.
But it's not like a central. But it's not a central kind of.
No, it isn't. No. Unlike Love, Simon, which again is a teen movie. It's a coming of age movie. She's all that, but he's gay.
Yes.
It's not anything like She's all that. That's a real generalization. But again, I just think the atypicalness of this as a rom-com, a romantic movie, a romantic coming-of-age movie. We're so used to seeing heterosexual coming-of-age movies, aren't you? And we actually got a really good homosexual coming-of-age movie in Love, Simon. Love, Simon was also one of those movies, and this is why I put it like this, perhaps surprisingly high on the list. I don't know. You said you didn't have this on your list.
No, not on my list.
So this might be why it's a little bit surprisingly high on my list. Was that it was a movie that obviously we know how I am with movies. That's why Morgan Hasn't Seen is a show in the first place. I don't watch movies a lot of people tell me to watch, and Love, Simon was one of those movies that a lot of people told me to watch. Oh, it's so good, they all said. Oh, it's the best movie. It speaks to me, and it might speak to you, but stop telling me that, and I might actually watch it. But finally, we did it for the show.
Yeah.
And then I realised it is actually very good. It's not what I feared it might have been, and what I feared a movie in lesser hands would have been a little bit pandering.
Yeah.
It didn't pander at all. It was very honest. It was very genuine. It didn't feel, it didn't make Simon feel like a stereotype. He was a genuine human character.
Yeah.
That we all know. Kinds of people like that, because they are full human beings. They are not.
Yeah,
they're not like different. She's all that, and She's All That, as as much as we enjoyed it, is far more stereotypical as a movie than Love, Simon is.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the characterizations of people, because that's the era of teen movies. Yes, okay.
Everyone kind of fits in that box of a jock and a cheerleader and a,
Exactly.
And in that, even in that time, gay men were very flamboyant and out there, and it would be easy to tell who's gay. But like that's
And
not
the whole
all not
purpose of Love, Simon is
yeah,
that you
it's to show
can't
that
tell.
yeah. Yes.
The whole purpose of Love, Simon is this: don't judge people because you don't know who's stood next to you.
Yeah.
You know? And the fight, the struggle he has within himself is really, I mean, I'm not going to use the word enjoyable, but it's meaningful.
Yeah.
You know, me, I am not, I am heterosexual, so I do not relate necessarily to this kind of thing. But it's another one of those instances of me enjoying a coming of age movie where
because it's giving you an insight into something that you don't understand. Yeah.
Exactly. And those are my favorite type of coming of age movies, which is why I did like Love, Simon as much as I did. And I had to put it on this list because while it is mostly about him coming to terms with himself,
Yeah,
and realizing that, well, he doesn't have to, outwardly shout to the world off the top of a, mountain.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
Doesn't have to be a big thing.
And
He just
trust
has
the
to.
people in his life to also kind of understand that. But he was so
Yeah.
terrified to even share that with them that lies kind of happened and caused more problems than him just being honest about it.
Yeah, exactly. Being honest with yourself is what that movie spoke to a lot, and it did have its romantic element to it, and I think its romantic element is very, again, it's very true to what romance is when you're 16 or however old Simon's supposed to be. I think it's probably about 16, isn't it?
16, 17, yeah.
It's coming of age romance in a very minor sense. There's no grand romantic gestures or anything that you might see starring people in their 30s or older or around that age.
Yeah.
But you feel like it's a movie that a hell of a lot of gay teenagers could have done with 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah, to see a movie like this and have that kind of a relatability in a movie.
Yes. I'm almost thankful for, generations in the future, that they have a movie like Love, Simon to maybe finally understand themselves because of.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it for that. So I had to put it on this list for those reasons, Janine.
Yes. Okay.
Well, is it your number 6? I know
It
we're
is my
taking
number
our
6.
time. It's probably the technical problems, cursed technology, and it's all its horribleness.
All right. My number 6
is
Moulin Rouge. Is that
interesting, because it's actually my number 5, so this works perfectly again.
All right.
Moulin Rouge, Ewan McGregor and his unbelievable singing voice and its ridiculously overly stylish romanticism and singing Elton John, and everybody loves Ewan McGregor.
I just remember watching this movie for the first time and just hearing him belt out Elton John and like all of the lights in the Paris scene just like lit up, like,
yeah.
And his voice, it was just his voice you heard. That was like me inside. Like I was watching it with my friend and we were both like, who knew Ewan McGregor could do that? Who knew he had that much power in his singing voice? Like I was blown away at how amazing his voice sounded and how good he was and how strong his performance was. And somebody who loves singing, like I was just blown away. So that just elevated that movie like 10 million times for me, that he was just so talented, and I had no idea. Like, I'd heard him sing like little bits and things in other movies, but to see him kind of come out like that with such a booming, beautiful voice, I was just like taken aback for sure.
Is this an instance of you liking the movie over the romance in the movie?
No, I really do like the romance. I like kind of the secret vibe of it, and the hidden love, and then how that all kind of plays into the story, and them kind of just making up this play as it goes along, kind of based off of what is happening in their actual romance. I thought all of that kind of was fun. And just the look of everything, that era, and kind
Yeah.
of just that bright, shiny package that this romance is wrapped in was just so beautiful that like all the elements I think just worked so well together.
There are some
So
elements in Mulan Rouge, Janine, that I do not like. Namely, the Nirvana Jim
yeah,
Broadbent
that was
situation.
not. And like a virgin, that was a little weird.
And Like a
as well.
Virgin.
When he
Is
was
that
like,
the one I'm thinking of? Is that the one? Is that the Jim Broadbent one?
Yes, but he also did a Nirvana
Yeah.
with like all the can girls.
Don't make Jim Broadbent sing. He's a lovely actor, obviously, but with that voice, he's not made for singing.
So this was episode 67 when we were talking about modern musicals of the modern musical series. So
okay. I put this at number 5 on my list. I think for a very kind of even reason, where I like the romance in the movie, but I also really appreciate the quality of this movie. And it's not a movie that everybody will like. I don't think Baz Luhrmann's the kind of director that everybody will like because everything's so over stylized. But he knows what he's doing. His movies just want to be that. He just wants his movies to be that. He's not doing it by accident. You know, it's not like, oh, this is a bad movie because it's over stylized. No, you just don't like that. You know?
yeah.
He's actually done it really well. You just don't like that.
Yeah.
You like more naturalistic movies. Moulin Rouge is anything but naturalistic.
Yeah.
It's so wacky and crazy, but it is deeply, deeply romantic. It really is. The romance for the era, the romance for the city, the romance for Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
And Ewan McGregor, yes, okay. This is where my personal element comes in, is Ewan McGregor is notoriously my celebrity lookalike. Which is why I'm very excited for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, because I might actually be able to do a legitimate Star Wars cosplay.
Yeah.
Not that I'll be allowed to do that because I'd get booted off the internet, but the internet's trying to boot me off it itself tonight, so maybe there's foreshadowing going on there.
But maybe you can just do this character from Mulan Rouge instead.
No, because then I would have to be clean shaven. It would annoy me.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's so wide-eyed. He's so youthful. He's so kind of single-minded.
Yes.
That I think
optimistic.
Yeah, when you are in a romantic mindset, I think these kind of characters are so nice to watch because you feel like love actually exists rather than just being depressed all the time that it doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
You feel like it might actually happen, and Ewan McGregor in Mulan Rouge makes me believe that love exists.
Believe in love, the power of it.
I appreciate him in this movie for doing that. But romances in movies that we've covered on Morgan Hasn't Seen is what this top 10 is. And I don't think any of these movies is as romance-filled as Moulin Rouge. All of them obviously have romance in them. Romance between people, mainly.
But love is the driving force. Like all we need is love. There's a whole song about love. Like,
Exactly.
that is the driving force of this movie.
The love song medley is famous
Yes,
for
Elephant Love Medley.
all.
You say it comes on at your work all the time.
It does. It does. Like, not just the individual songs, but that exact Ewan McGregor singing them. It's weird. And I can tell it's like it will just come on and it's like, this isn't your song. This is Ewan this is Moulin Rouge. What's going on?
That's hilarious.
So I always get a nice reminder of Moulin Rouge at work. So yes, I mean I had to put it. I thought Straight Down the Middle worked because it isn't my favorite movie of all these romance movies we've covered. It isn't necessarily my favorite romance between people.
Yeah.
But it's the most romance-filled movie. Okay. So it had to be on here.
Yes. And I mean, just production value, quality of performances, all of that alone, I think, shoots it up, would be ashamed to not have it on our lists.
It really would. It really would. That was my number 5, though, Janine. So go straight on into your number 5.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you'll consider this cheating.
Cheating? No, you've not put 2 of them. I disagree. You can't put 2 of them. Now, what's it? You see, I was going to put the Best Man movies on the list. They're not on my list, Janine, and I'll tell you for why.
Okay.
I will tell you for why.
For why?
Is that I think
I know your feelings on the second movie.
They're not really romantic. They're very dramatic. And The Best Man Holiday is a perfectly entertaining movie right up until it really, really isn't anymore.
But that's the romantic part of it. That's like the power of that love and that relationship kind of withholding or withstanding kind of all the drama that's kind of pushing on it. So definitely, that movie is in the rom-coms category.
It is.
So we did cover it.
There would be honorable mentions. I certainly have no ill will towards
and we
the
did
Best
cover
Man
it
movies.
when we did our Black rom-com series, and we did a double feature episode 49 of these 2 movies.
Maybe they're due a revisit from me then, because I just remember the drama and the fights.
Yes.
And Taye Diggs and his glasses being all, oh, I didn't mean to, and big old Morris Chestnut just kind of punching him about a bit and then praying.
Yes.
That's all he does in the movie, isn't it? He just kind of gets angry about.
And then he prays on it.
Because.
Well, no, I love these movies. I feel like, I think the sequel definitely really was a great evolution from the original. You felt like these characters were where they would have been in that amount of time passing. It's like you didn't lose any time with them. The chemistry and the rapport of everybody's still really fun. There's a lot of great comedy in there and relationship dynamics in there at play. So of course, yes, it's a Black movie, so you're gonna have your like legit fight kind of ghetto-ish drama that happens, but like that's what these movies are.
That's not an issue. I just
think you're also going to get a lot of emotional hits, and I think that story beat of Mia being sick and kind of that having to be the thing to bring Morris Chestnut and Taye Diggs together because of such a tumultuous friendship. I think that was necessary. I think that played really well to then, him naming his baby Mia and and his love for her having to be enough to kind of, you need to let that go. Like, I know you love me, but you also need to listen to me and hear what I'm telling you. I don't want to pass on seeing you in this state with somebody I know you love. You love this guy. He's your best friend. I can't rest until I know that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And for a lot of it, he can't believe, he's not really letting himself believe that she's going to pass away. He thinks the Lord is going to step in and keep and save her. So, that I think it plays into like the big romantic element. And like it's about a bunch of couples and what they're going through in their own relationships. So I like seeing the different dynamic between the different couples and how that plays with each other's kind of relationships and the bigger picture of really kind of making peace with the people in your life and letting things go. And if you're going to be someone who believes in prayer and the Lord and all of those things, forgiveness is a huge part of that. So to see kind of that character journey of dealing with forgiveness and in both movies, I just love the dynamic of the couples. I love the just comedy of it. And I like the drama and how it works into these relationships. And I love these two movies together as kind of a whole big picture because, when you get into the second one, it's just as fun, it's just as dramatic, it's just as interesting. You care about these characters just as much, and you believe that this is where they would be in all of this time. So I absolutely love kind of the evolution of these characters. I love these two movies as a whole. A great ensemble cast, highlighting some really great Black actors that have been around forever, but they never really get that shining kind of spotlight. And I always love when a Black film can kind of translate into the mainstream. And I think this was definitely one of the movies that is more kind of well known in the mainstream of romantic movies. So yeah, absolutely love this series of films and this cast and everything about these movies. So put in kind of my upper mid tier because I think it was a great kind of feat to make these movies and kind of so much so that you are getting like a later sequel. So yeah.
All I can say in response to that is that it's probably just time for me to rewatch them.
Yes, I think so.
Given the fact that they didn't make my list. And I was very close to putting, well, the first one on. I was very close to putting the first one on.
I just think these movies work so well together.
They do. And
I didn't want to separate them. I couldn't separate them.
I understand that. Everybody in them is great. The couple dynamics are very different. Well, they're all obviously different. They're all obviously interesting. You have said it all there in your lovely explanation. You really have. I can't say, I can't say any more than that, other than the fact that it's Terrence Howard playing Terrence Howard, and I appreciated that.
Yes.
By all accounts, that is just Terrence Howard.
Yes. Also, can we just shout out the new edition little dance scene? I love that moment.
Yes, admittedly, yes, that is. Look, if we were doing our top Black movies covered on the show, sure, this makes it on the list.
Yes.
Maybe I was just thrown off by the fact it's not one romance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like 5, throughout the 2 movies. There's like 5 couples.
Yeah.
Or like 4 couples. So perhaps that threw me off. Admittedly, though, I have no justification. I will rewatch those movies because I think you have. You've not shamed me, but I feel ashamed.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's my fault. It's my fault, Janine. What is it? My number 4 now.
Yes, it is your number 4.
Oh, do you know what? I'm very interested to see if you've actually put this one on. Actually. Because it may be a little bit, and I would admit this one is actually slightly less on the romance in the movie, more on the how much I enjoyed the movie and how much I wasn't sure whether that I would enjoy the movie this much or not.
Okay.
So it's Tangled.
Oh, okay. Not on my list, but definitely a great pick.
Number 4. Yes,
that was definitely one we kind of debated on whether we should put it on or not. I think that one and Dracula were ones that we were like, are these fully can they be fully considered? But I think anything kind of Disney princess is romance.
It
So
is. It's
yeah.
and it's probably the most meaningful real romance I've seen in a Disney princess movie.
Yes. So this was episode 41 when we did a Morgan Hasn't Seen Disney Movies series. So
where the where the prince and the princess actually end up together. I mean, let's go through some Disney princesses and their princes, shall we? Snow White and whatever the hell that dude's name is, haven't got a clue. Rubbish
yeah, he doesn't
romance,
even have a
terrible.
name.
Cinderella and whatever, and Prince Charming. No. I mean, yes, but no. Aladdin and Jasmine, okay. Fair enough, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
But it still ain't as good as Rapunzel and Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
Who else do we have? Pocahontas and no.
John Smith.
Not having
Very
that.
problematic.
Not having that at all. Mulan and whatever the hell that dude's name is. Yes, okay. I do like Mulan. Admittedly, I do like Mulan. What else do we have? Ariel and Eric. No.
Tiana and Naveen.
Tiana, I'll give you that. Okay, that's a little bit more reasonable as well. You see, there's a trend here. As we come later in years, we start getting a bit more reasonable with our romances. And I don't think it's ever better in terms of Disney princesses than Entangled.
Yeah.
Get Out Frozen as well. Out the door with you.
Yes.
But I was so surprised by how much I actually really liked Tangled as a movie. It's just so much. It's so dark at times. It's dark when it needs to be. It's fun when it needs to be. But oh my
happening.
God, the scene on the lake with all the lanterns is just the most beautiful thing I've seen in any.
Yeah.
In any Disney princess movie, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And that's why it's so high on my list. Yeah. Also because I think, like, Flynn Rider's a very, very good male counterpart. And he's probably the most... I mean, Aladdin's the title character of that movie.
Yeah,
they're
but
kind of even in Aladdin.
Yes, but Flynn is kind of sarcastic and kind of, complicated. Yeah.
Everybody kind of likes him.
He wasn't seeking out Rapunzel. No, he found her, and so it feels like a friendship build, a rapport builds more than kind of other Disney movies because it's like love at first sight with kind of everything else.
Yeah,
that's why Princess and the Frog also kind of fits in there. Like they had the time, they disliked each other. They had time to build rapport and chemistry and see these things in each other. So
when they were both frogs.
Yes.
They don't turn into frogs in Tangled. They just, one of them gets saved from a tower and then has to find the way back to the city of their, where they were stolen from by
an evil witch lady.
Mother Gothel. Yeah. But this is it's a Love Simon type pick that I just almost prefer as a movie, and it's certainly a bigger surprise on how much I actually remember liking it.
Yeah.
That's why it's so high.
Okay.
That's why this one's so high. I really, really love Tangled. Admittedly, I'm not, super well versed when it comes to Disney princess movies. I'd go as far as to say this is my favorite of them.
Oh, okay.
And that counts Aladdin. That counts Little Mermaid. That counts, Snow White.
Okay.
Yeah. I love Tangled. I love Tangled. You're number 4, Janine. This has got to be one that that was on my list before.
My number 4 was your number 9, I believe.
Okay.
Something new.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I had to put this on the list. I did for the quote, which I remember always bringing up, which was, I may not I may not be able to relate, but I can empathize. Or I'm paraphrasing, but
Yes,
it was
Simon
something like
Baker.
that.
Yes, Simon Baker.
Not that Simon Baker's been in anything for 10 years. He hasn't.
I mean,
Where's
he
he
had
been? What's he
he had
doing?
a TV series for a minute, but yeah, I'm not sure what
That's what I
Simon
mean. That
Baker
was
is doing.
10 years ago, wasn't it?
The Mentalist, yeah. But yeah, like this is, I think, in the vein of what you were talking about with how Stella got her groove back, in the sense that it's a rom-com that is tackling an issue that's an issue from the start of the relationship. So it's not in your typical
Yeah.
rom-com formula that it's some, kink in the chain that happens in the third act that has to be resolved and create some tension. This is literally an issue that we're dealing with from start to finish, and how our characters are going to grapple with that. And
Again,
you don't
it's a
really
very...
see and you don't really see some rom-coms based around the idea of a biracial relationship.
You
Of
don't, and
yes.
it's a very prevalent. It's obviously a very prevalent thing. You, for example, are in a
Yes.
biracial marriage.
Yes.
It is a thing that means a lot to many people, and more so.
And to see that depiction is nice, because like, yeah, you never really
Yeah.
see anything kind of talk about that. And like, even just in general in my dating life, I grew up in an area where I lived where that was kind of all that was there for me to kind of, get my little crushes on and thing, were a bunch of little white boys. And,
You're telling me, Janine, that there were no black people around you.
there really were not any, really. So any crush I had was on a cute little white boy or whatever, because I was not in an area where people who looked like me was a common kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, so to kind of see a movie really kind of depict, but seeing the perspective of a black woman who was really kind of only opening herself up to a black man, and having this big fear of stepping outside of that, and how society was going to perceive that, and that fear of, oh my gosh, I'm kind of betraying, black people, and, putting kind of this list in her head of what she was supposed to have, instead of kind of being more open, and seeing her open herself up to just the concept of love, and not, so she kind of has her own racial barriers.
Yeah.
So to see kind of that other side of it, and that kind of twist on it, that she's kind of in her own way discriminating against the idea of any love that is not, in her little box that she's created. And so I love that whole idea of just the depiction of, in of itself, of interracial relationships,
Yeah.
but also just kind of her side of it, of as a black woman who is kind of afraid of really kind of stepping outside of her black box. And even just seeing the depiction of a successful black woman.
Yes, Sanaa Lathan in prime Sanaa Lathan mode.
Yes.
She was all over the black rom-coms when we covered the black. We couldn't get away from.
We did Brown Sugar. We did the Best Man movies, and this movie, and Love and Basketball. So it was all Sanaa was in everything. Love this woman.
And she is great. She's so good in this movie and in all the movies. She really is. But I mean, I completely agree with you that, something new speaks to that kind of love comes in many forms. You can't just, pigeonhole it.
Yeah.
It can come with whoever, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How Stella got a groove back speaks to that as well in terms of age. This is just that, but in terms of race.
Yeah.
It's a different debate. It's a different kind of conversation going on in something new. And obviously me being the white man in the situation enjoys Simon Baker's quote there.
Yes.
That I said before. I may not be able to relate, but I can always empathize, which I would hold dearly, in a situation like this. I believe entirely in that kind of thing. And, I also believe entirely in the why would I only want to, spend the rest of my life going out with white people when there could be thousands upon
look like all different
black
kinds of
people,
things.
brown people, whoever they are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter who or what or where or anything. That's the point of something new.
And then also kind of Simon Baker, him being very kind of not seeing it as a big deal, but then him also kind of having to understand why it's a big deal to her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he, is very kind of open and he's really great, but he also kind of has to grow a little bit in himself and just understand why it's important to her, why she has reservations, why this means something to her, what kind of stigmas and things she's been dealt with in her life and has to grow up with people viewing her in a certain way, and what she has to fight against on a daily basis that he needs to kind of learn to understand. So that's when he kind of gives that great line.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we covered this on the 47th episode, where we were talking Black rom-coms. It was right before we covered, because I don't think I said when we covered Just Right. That was the 48th episode of Black rom-coms. But this was 47.
Again, it's just a very, very mature movie.
Yes.
When a lot of rom-coms can be quite, not immature in a childish sense, but immature in a simplistic sense.
Yes, where you're just kind of hitting those tropes and beats. And so you're not getting something new. You're getting kind of the same old thing. New. So something new is like, great. Her trying something new, us also kind of seeing something new depicted in rom-coms, which have been around forever, and seeing kind of a different side of an issue.
Me, of course, being annoying and speaking as the white man in the room again. Seeing Simon Baker realize that there's something new in his new relationship with Sanaa Lathan that he hasn't had to worry about.
Yeah,
in his previous relationships with white people.
Yes, but she being a successful Black woman and still having people underestimate her and not trust her skills because she's a Black woman, and the stresses of that, and him kind of trying to brush her, like, just forget them. And she's like, no, like, this is my everyday. And him having to step back and being like, okay, I need to relate to you. I need to understand. I need to empathize with what you're going through. I can't understand it, but I can't relate, but I can empathize. And him having to grow on that end as well. So yeah, definitely great
Michael
dynamics.
in the chat. Michael in the chat also showing love to something new there. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. It's a great movie.
Yes, we did a whole episode on it. It's great. Really love that one. So I'm glad it made your list.
It was not as high as mine. It was a little bit down the list. I apologize for it being a little bit down the list, Janine. But it was shaming me again.
I'm not shaming you. I'm glad I was excited to see it on there because I didn't know. I know that is a quote you enjoy, but I didn't know how much this movie kind of spoke to you in any kind of.
Oh, it did. No.
That it kind of has stuck with you. I'm excited that it made your list. So
absolutely, it has. Yeah. But like I said, because I am such a believer in, for God's sake, it doesn't matter who they are, what they are, where they come from, what they look like. If you find a spark, a connection with somebody, who the hell's anybody else to stop you from being together?
Exactly.
Unless, of course, there's other situations going on, whatever. If you're two single people, I should say, if it's consensual and if you're two people who are perfectly available to everybody else, we don't condone non-consensual situations here.
Yeah.
Obviously. Just because you see a spark in this relationship doesn't mean they do. So just make sure they do as well.
Yes.
There's
consensual sparks. Consensual sparks.
There's my life advice to everybody from something new.
So yes, I have a feeling I now that we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, I have a feeling I might know what your number 3 is.
You feel like okay. Is it my number 3 or is it your number 3? Oh no, because that was your number 4.
Yes.
And my number 4 was Tangled. Yes. My number 3, Janine.
Oh my God.
My number
This
3.
isn't what I think it is. Is it what I think it is?
I doubt it, to be perfectly honest with you. I fooled you, Janine. Have I fooled you? You know, this is the unfortunate time in the top 10 where Janine tries and guesses what I've done. I've not forgotten what Janine said before, but I'm not really, trying to guess what you have as your number 1, Janine, because it's a surprise. It's supposed to be, at least. Stop ruining the surprise.
I'm sorry.
Because my number 3 is actually Love and Basketball. Is it higher on your list, Janine?
It is.
Okay. Ooh, we love Love and Basketball, obviously.
We do.
Obviously. Goodness me, then, Janine. What is your number 2? I know what your number 2 and number 1 are. I just don't know what order they're in.
Okay. Well, my number 3 is...
Your number 3? Oh, yes, your number 3. I'm sorry, your number 3.
Yes. I did it again. Hashtag nothing.
Oh, yeah. You see, I was really...
Was that an honorable mention for you?
Yes, I was really close to putting it on.
Yes. Absolutely. Love Ever After.
What a beautiful fantasy movie it is.
Yes. Like a great depiction of Cinderella. Also felt like grounding it in the real world. Like you're not having your fantastical pumpkins and fairy godmothers. Like you have Da Vinci being the fairy godmother. So kind of grounding this fairy tale in a way.
Yeah. I just remember Richard O'Brien in it with his stupid mustache.
Yes. Yeah. Talking like this.
He does talk like that in the movie. I love it.
Yes, Danielle. Like, stop talking like that. Ugh.
He's the creepiest.
Yes, so this was episode 28 in our Drew Barrymore series.
Okay. Ever After. I should have known that this would be... I definitely know what your number 2 and number 1 is now. Yes. I don't know what order it is in. Marie Zambino in the chat, hello Marie, says Ever After is your favorite version of Cinderella.
Yes,
I think that's a fair point. Yes. I do think that's a very fair point. It's better than the stupid Disney movie. Hashtag Tangled forever. Forever. Can see it was number 4 as well. Hashtag Tangled forever. Do we like the Cinderella, the weird... I mean, it's not weird. The Cinderella from like the late 90s that really doesn't care about race one little bit.
Yeah.
That one. You know which one I'm talking about. It's just got random people playing random people's parents, and it's just like, how is this Asian man's parents black?
Whoopi Goldberg and Victor Garber.
Sense, but who cares?
Yes. Which I love that. I love this blind kind of casting concept that movie had. So I think that was a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
But yes, I think
it's a nitpicker's nightmare, though.
Yes. But I think this was definitely a really great version of Cinderella. They made her this strong, independent, feisty character. They made her not putting up with any crap, and you really empathize with her, sympathize for her, and the romance I think was really great. We got these little nuggets of them spending time getting to know each other.
Dougray
Scott was our prince. Some great little comedic moments. Just beautiful kind of depiction, kind of grounded in the time period, also feeling kind of real without your kind of fantastical talking mice and things. And just a really great take on that character, and making it feel like this could definitely be the origin of this fantastical story, because that's kind of what it's showing you.
I mean, it's obviously such a beautiful looking movie as well. The production design's flawless. Yeah. And it really is, again, it's speaking to a thing that's kept coming up on this top 10, which is the unique factor of some of these movies. These are not typical. For the most part, these really haven't been typical romance movies, typical rom-coms. I think She's All That was probably the closest we got to that, which is why, as much as we love it, it had to be at the number 10 spot.
Yeah.
Because it is just very stereotypical. It's greatly stereotypical, but it's stereotypical.
Yes.
And Ever After, it just is again something so... It's being as original as you can possibly be with such a well-known, such a tried and tested story.
Yes. Because it's hard to make something like that fresh and enjoyable when it's something you've seen regurgitated so many times. And the fact that this movie was able to do that is just so special.
So is this an instance of you preferring the movie to the romance within it? Or the movie overall? I know the romance is obviously a sizable part of the movie.
I think it's kind of the overall, because it's a story that we all know so well, and the fact that they were able to kind of freshen it up like this. But I do love the romance. I love that they feel like real people, that she's very, despite her station, she's a beautiful, pure, amazing, wonderful person, but she's also strong and confident and brave and all of these amazing things. And we do get to see them have these little nuggets of moments getting to know each other and building that romance. And we do get our kind of heartbreak moment and then the kind of reunion moment. And so the romance feels very honest and sweeping, and you do have time to sit in it, as opposed to like any other. I think that's why we like these later Disney romances, because you actually get time with these people together, getting to know each other, as opposed to like, the earlier ones where they know nothing about each other, Snow White and Prince Charming, whatever guy. Like,
I'm pretty sure his name's Stephen. I know that sounds like random, but I'm pretty sure his name is actually Stephen.
I can't remember what it is. It's like a weird.
I think it is Stephen.
Weird. Well, I think like people have like put a name on him.
Yeah, possibly.
Yes, like Florian or something like that. I think it's something
Florian.
Like yes, like he's just known as like Prince Charming, but I think his
not
actual
Prince
name.
Charming. That's like, Cinderella.
It's like, he's the prince. He's the prince. So one is the prince,
he's
and one
boring.
is Prince Charming. Yeah, so Cinderella's prince.
I love
is Prince
how he's
Charming
that boring
with no
he's
name.
Such a useless character.
And he's
what's
just
he even doing in
prince.
the movie?
So I think people have put Prince Florian on him. I think he's the one that they put that name. It's kind of like Beauty and the Beast prince, like Beast, like people say his name is Adam, but they never actually say that. So
Adam?
Yes.
Adam the Beast.
He wasn't a beast all the time.
I'm referring to him as Adam the Beast now.
Oh my God.
And nobody will be able to... I've never heard the Beast be called Adam in my entire life. I love useless Disney princes. They're so dreadful. But yes, Ever After is a great movie. Janine, I've just realised I am rocked to my core.
Oh gosh.
Because you don't have my number 2 on your list at all. You don't, because I know what your number 2 and your number 1 are, despite the fact that I don't know what order they are in. I know what they are. And you don't have it on there, and I'm just deeply... I'm surprised, really. I'm surprised.
Okay.
I'm very, very surprised you don't have it on there. Perhaps it was because you chose this movie to be covered on the show because you thought it was the most accurate portrayal of me you could possibly find in a romance movie, because my number 2... If you're ready to move on, by the way, Janine, I didn't actually ask you.
Oh no, I am ready. Yes, I'm intrigued.
My number 2 is About Time.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, not on my list.
Why the hell is this not on your list? Oh my!
It was definitely honorable mention. It was in the lexicon, but I just picked things that were more nostalgic to me. That kind of hit a spot for me of either personal relationship, like personal kind of relating to it, or just something that was like in my lexicon growing up, constantly watching all the time. This is a movie I love. I love the concept of it. I think it's great, but it's not something that I constantly find myself wanting to return to all the time. You
Do you know
know,
what I relate to, though? An
what?
awkward, white, British, slightly ginger-haired guy. That's what I relate to.
I get that wholeheartedly.
Who's just kind of just wants a second chance at everything and just wants everything to go okay. And he'll do
Yes.
whatever he can, and everything keeps going wrong.
And
Like,
having
to the
to,
point
I mean,
where
like today.
he erases his own children.
Yes.
And he's just like, I need to go back.
And going back to like spend those little moments with his dad and like,
It's so
yeah,
beautiful.
It's like this great life journey with this kind of fun time thing thrown in there. I wish we hadn't covered it so that we could have actually done it on our
I know,
romance and time.
it would have
But
been good.
you know,
It
it
would
would
have
have been
been
perfect.
good.
It would have been a perfect double feature with the lake house.
It
But
would. It would have been. I actually feel as well like the time in About Time doesn't actually confuse me. Because it all seemed pretty clear as to when was when and what was
and when
what.
was he jumping around to? And yeah.
And I understood the time travel aspect of About Time.
Yes.
But oh my god, yeah, I mean the scenes with him and Bill Nye's dad are so good as well. That's obviously not the romance part of it. But this being my number 2 is very, very much a case of me really enjoying this movie and the romance within it on very, very equal parts.
Okay. This was episode 110 when we did a series on time loop movies.
Yes. So that's what it is. Maybe time loops don't confuse me, but like just
Well, we
the
got very
passage of
confused
time.
on the source code.
Source Code's just a weird movie, though, isn't it? I mean,
I think during the episode we were like trying to figure out.
it's because the end. If I remember rightly, it's the end of most of the movie Source Code is perfectly understandable, and then something weird happens at the end, if I remember rightly, that just throws everybody completely off as to what the hell you've just seen.
Yes.
But About Time, I know it's a little bit, you know, it's all very fancy white British people. Look, they're all, happily wealthy and living on the south coast in a beach house, and it's always, nice weather, and who the hell are these ridiculously upper class people? But it's not about that to me.
Yeah.
It's about the character. It's about Donald Gleeson and the character he's playing, this incredibly love-filled person who hasn't got a clue what to do with it all. Hasn't got a clue. He just kind of, should I do that? And then he just outburst, and then, oh dear, I've done it wrong. Back in time.
Yeah.
Or I can't even. No, they have to go into the wardrobe or something, don't they, to get back in?
They have to go into a dark place
Yeah.
and like a dark area and do that.
But yes, the father-son aspect of it is something that means a lot to me as well.
Yeah.
So that's where my enjoyment of the movie is elevated. But the romance in it and just the trying as hard as you possibly can to craft this perfect romance for yourself just speaks to me as somebody that would like to do that and struggles to do that and wished I could just go
in the wardrobe and switch everything around.
But I loved About Time. I really did. Like, it was so just it touched my heart, Janine.
Oh.
More so than a lot of these movies. Now, a lot of these movies did touch my heart, but this had a little bit of a next level. And again, maybe it was the character identification aspect.
Yeah.
Which helped me in that situation. Much like, something new and yourself, for example, and other such things. Just right and yourself, But I have to look at awkward white people for my relatability.
Fair enough.
It helps if they're British.
Well. Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, the only way it could have been more accurate, would it had have been northern and not preposterously London-centric at sometimes that the movie is.
So I mean, that is kind of a contention we always have with movies that are like UK based. It's always like London is the center of everything. There's no other place that exists if your movie has a scene in the UK, it's always in London.
And it's a very London-centric movie. But we don't think about that because there's way too much
going on,
more interesting things happening in About Time than it just being a typical British romance movie about London, Notting Hill, for example. But yeah, I loved it. Again, it's one of those things that surprised me so much in how much I enjoyed it. And I think that's what I've kind of focused this list on more than a lot of the other aspects of choosing a top 10 is a level of, yes, I've focused on the romance is within them and what I feel like is a really strong romance and strong reason behind a romance and all that kind of stuff. But the surprise element, and that's what I always love about Morgan Hasn't Seen. It's what I enjoy about the main show as well, but it's obviously Morgan Hasn't Seen. There's a point of it to me. There's a different aspect of Morgan Hasn't Seen to me than there is to you.
Yeah.
On the main show, it's the same for the most part. But Morgan Hasn't Seen is all about you mainly knowing these movies and me obviously not.
But even there's instances where I don't know these movies.
There are.
But they're just movies that like fit kind of my idea and also things that I kind of want to discover or kind of curious to see your reaction to.
Which is why I think I've focused my list on surprises, pleasant surprises, more than any other aspect, because that's always the more memorable episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen for me in our 150 episode history.
Yes.
So About Time, my number 2, Janine. Right, okay, come on then. Which one's one for you?
All right. So,
is it my number 8 or my number 3? Which one's one?
Well, I want to know where that other one is, where my number 9 is on yours, where that sits.
I wonder, considering
so
that's my number 2
is
Love and Basketball. Yes. Okay, my number 3.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this movie, I think this is a movie that everybody kind of loves, and it's always kind of like a big surprise to people when they see it, and then they're just like always kind of complaining that not enough people talk about this movie.
Because it's kind of so heavy. Not like in a depressing way.
No.
But just in a super... Like, you're so emotionally invested in these two.
Yes, and it's like a brown sugar kind of thing where the through line is basketball and how that kind of relates to what's happening in their lives. Like with Brown Sugar, they're relating their love of hip hop music and to their love for each other, and kind of, a certain song is like a person to them. So kind of that through line of their love of something, kind of relating that to the love of their life. And so that's kind of the element I really love about the romance in this movie. And it's just kind of built off of kind of this love-hate kind of friendship that they have, but the through line that's always kept them connected, even when they weren't really ready to admit that they were even friends, is the basketball. The fact that, like, they can bicker and talk shit to each other all day, but then when his parents are fighting, he crawls out of his window, crawls out into her window, and she lays out somewhere for him to sleep where he can just have some peace and get away from the stress in his life. And she's that person he goes to. So he can be, hitting on all the girls at school and being this ladies' man and being this basketball star. And they can have these fights and he can kind of just treat her like this tomboy that lives next door. But when shit really gets heavy for him, she's the one he goes to kind of be his safe space. And I loved kind of those moments in their relationship and how it kind of built, like, because that's my whole thing with all of these romances. They were all kind of, while maybe the movie as a whole was kind of what sold me, all of these romances all had you believed all of them. They all
Yeah.
felt believable. They all felt real and organic. They all had moments. Because, like, you know, a big trope in rom-coms and romance is that, you know, people are just fall in love instantly after one day or a couple days or whatever. But what my favorite ones are the ones that you get time to sit with these people and see their rapport and see it build and see it grow from like a love hate, like cutting the cutting edge, all the way to
Like the cutting edge.
yes, a love hate, to a friendship, to a mutual respect, to the pure love for each other, and it feels more organic and believable. And this movie really kind of embodies that. And then even just kind of simple things, like as a Black woman, I love simple things that I can relate to, like in Something New, when she's walking with him and it starts to rain and she's like, oh my God, my hair. That is a complete relatable moment to me as a Black woman that you don't see in a movie. You don't see that expressed, that, oh my gosh, Black women in their hair, it's a whole thing. If it gets wet, it's a whole process. Like, freaking out about that is so 100% relatable to me. So even just having scenes of her sitting there and her sister braiding her hair and stuff, like, it's not even like explicitly like talked about, like, oh, put my hair in cornrows, da 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 da, like do this Black hairstyle. It's not even like a shined on thing. It's just two sisters having a conversation about boys. She's braiding her hair, and it's just a the inherent Black thing that you know from your culture, from what you've grown up knowing, and just seeing it depicted on screen as just like this normal thing. Moments like that are just really honest for me, and so relatable for me, and kind of seeing that reflection of things in my life that people don't really know about or really talk about, or, you know, you see in a movie being just depicted so simply and purely and not being made to be a big thing. Because another great thing about, you know, Black rom-coms is when it's not, you know, it's just Black people. It's not about a Black movie about slavery. It's not a Black movie about racism, or, you know, where Black is like the whole, being Black is the whole issue in the movie. It's just Black people being everyday people, doing everyday things, and living their lives. So this movie is something like that that really kind of spoke to me in that way as well. So
it's hard to, you know, come on after that, you mean, to be
I'm
perfectly honest with
sorry.
you. But
I just
that's
get on
not
my
a
like
slight.
I just
That's
get on
not
my like excitement about
that's not a slight.
these
This movie's my number 3. So I put this so
pretty
high.
high.
It's arguably, do you know what? In terms of a relationship between two people, it's actually my favorite of everything on my list.
Well, okay.
It's more, in terms of a relationship between two people, it is a stronger relationship than that in About Time. It's just the romantic nature of About Time that elevates it, and my number 1 is my number 1 for several other reasons. I'm so excited.
I know you are.
But the actual emotional relationship is so strong in Love and Basketball, and it's because of the bickering. It's because of the, you know, kind of the friendship that blossoms from seemingly nothing. The mutual love of something else aside from each other, you know, that they can bond with.
Yeah.
They're not just there for each other. You know, they're there because each other also likes basketball a lot.
Yes, and like not a lot of people can relate to that.
Exactly.
So she's the one person who can relate to his struggles with basketball and being recruited and feeling like you're not enough, and you know, practice and all of the things that go into that sport. She's one person who can relate to him on those things.
Exactly, because she's going through the exact same thing.
Yes. So we did cover this episode 50 when we were talking Black rom-com.
Episode 50, that's nice. Okay. Yeah. A milestone episode in itself.
Yes.
Like I said, though, I can't say it any clearer than I think this is the strongest couple relationship we've covered on the show. Maybe only, actually. No, it's not as strong. No. The one I'm thinking of isn't as strong as that, and I'm certainly putting recency bias into the mix. But we've just talked about the Lake House. I think the Lake House's couple kind of emotional relationship is very, very strong
Yes.
between Keanu and Sandra Bullock in the Lake House, but it's not as strong as Love and Basketball. It's nowhere near as strong as the
No, because
relationship
they
in Love
have
and
so much
Basketball.
that they can relate to each other to without even words.
It's much
Like
more,
I
yeah,
said, you see them together and they just talk a bunch of shit to each other all the time.
yeah,
But when it
exactly.
counts, they silent moments where they just look at each other and they get it.
It's
You don't
much
have to
more
say
true
anything.
to life.
I get you without even having to say a word. I'm here for you. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to say that. And so when you can say things with just a look with somebody, that is a deep connection.
I mean, it
So
speaks to how believable that relationship is and how well directed that relationship is, but it also speaks to how well made the movie
and I
is in
believe I
general.
wanna
It's such
say
a good actual aside from the relationship, it's such a well-made movie.
I wanna say it was also directed by Sanaa Hamri, who directed Something New.
Ooh.
Let me
I
just look
couldn't
that up.
give you the trivia, admittedly, but I
I
know Sanaa
I
Lathan is obviously,
yeah, I
I
wanna say it's the
believe,
same director.
and it's Omar Epps.
Oh, no, it is not, it is not. Um,
I don't.
yes.
Yes, okay. Unfortunately, it's not Tay Diggs, but it's Omar Epps,
Right?
and Omar Epps is great.
Yes.
I mean, he really is.
Yeah.
I don't actually think Tay Diggs could have done it. He's too light-hearted. And it's not a light-hearted movie a lot of the time. It's a romantic
No.
drama, isn't it? It's not a
Yes.
rom-com.
No. I mean, there's little funny moments in there, but it definitely plays more to the romance and the drama
Yeah.
of their relationship and everything that goes on in their own personal lives.
It's what makes it stronger. It's what makes the movie feel more emotional. And that's
Mhm.
ultimately kind of what we're talking about in this top 10 list. It's what romance speaks to being romantic more.
Yeah.
Make the list out of it. And that's why this one's towards the top of both of our lists. It's the only one that's, in fact, if we were to do a mutual list, this one would be at the top.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? That would be how that would work, because it's the furthest, it's the highest on both of our lists.
Yeah.
And I love that it is. I
Yes.
love where we covered this as well. It came after the black rom-coms, and it was kind of the slightly heavier, more dramatic one
Yeah.
at the end
It
of
was
that
the last one
series.
we covered on that series. Yeah.
And I appreciated it that for it. So it's almost as though that whole series built up to this, and you just had this level of the perfect romance movie
Yes.
at the end of that series, and it really does feel like that. I mean, I couldn't put a flaw to this one. It is like About Time for me. I really love About Time, but it's a significantly different type of movie to About Time. And like I said, the actual relationship in Love and Basketball is stronger for me than that
Yeah.
in About Time. It's just our central character in About Time, I think, is more inherently romantic as a character than either of these two.
Yeah.
This is about the relationship rather than any romanticism.
Yeah.
This is the relationship being strong.
And feeling real and organic and,
Yeah.
yes.
It's such
Not some
a good
heightened
movie.
fantastical thing.
No.
Yeah.
Such a good movie. I'm glad that it's very high on your list as well. I really am.
All right,
Our
Morgan.
mutual number one, Janine.
Yes.
Love and Basketball.
All right.
Because yes.
I can't believe you put this number one. I knew it would be on here.
Why? Why could you not believe?
I mean, I
put
guess I
this
can
as
believe
number
it's
one?
you. But
It is me.
you had to like really kind of bug me to
Yup.
even count this. Because when I went through
Why do you think
when I went
bugged you to
through
put it
all of
on
these
so much?
movies,
I have my reasons, Janine.
I literally did not know that I should count this as a romance. And then when you lobbied for it to be the romance, I was like, okay, if it has romance in the list of genres that this movie falls in, then it'll be put. And of course, romance was on there, but it made my list as well. It was my number 9. So,
Janine.
Morgan.
Well, your number 1's my number 8, so we're both kind of a little bit
off on these.
Off with each other's
with our
number 1.
Your number 1
My
is...
number 1 is Dracula. Yes.
Of course it is.
I will tell you for why, Janine.
Okay. Tell me for why.
My number 1 is Dracula. Number 1, I've talked about constantly how the surprise element of a movie means the most to me and Morgan hasn't seen. There has never been a bigger surprise on Morgan hasn't seen than how great Dracula is when we thought it was going to be a bit silly.
Ridiculous. So, just to mention, it was covered when we did the Black double features.
Yes.
And we did a horror. So we did a double feature of Vampire in Brooklyn and this film.
It blows Vampire in Brooklyn out the water.
Out of the water, 100%. I remember
it's
just
so good.
Thinking how ridiculous this movie was going to be.
Yes. Number 2. It is definitely the most inherently romantic movie we've ever covered. Yes, more than About Time. Yes, more than Love and Basketball. And I'll tell you for why, Janine.
Okay.
No one, not even Donald Gleason in About Time, who does do time travel, wishy-washy, make himself perfect, has the guts to come back from the dead centuries later to rekindle the romance. He's so in love with his African princess. Let's not forget, Janine, that Dracula is an African prince. He's royalty.
So
he's so in love. I haven't finished. He's so in love with his beautiful African princess from centuries ago that he raises out of his grave, and he does everything he can to get her back. Nobody else comes back from the dead, Janine. That is the biggest testament to how much Dracula, or Mama Wale, as he's actually called, loves his wife.
Well, I guess it's good we never covered the Brendan Fraser mummy movies on this channel because Imhotep came back to get his.
Yes, so did Boris Karloff.
So
did Boris Karloff in the actual Mummy from 1932.
Which we did cover.
Is the exact same kind of story. However, like I said, surprise element of it actually being a phenomenal horror movie and a phenomenal black movie.
Well, we did actually cover some blaxploitation movies on this channel, and like they, of course, were over the top, kind of ridiculous. You know, when that King George guy came and had his whole little theme song. You know, those movies.
Oh yes, there's King George's penis.
Yes, they're entertaining, but they are over the top and kind of goofy, right? This movie is about a black vampire called Dracula from that same era. So I know we're expecting a whole lot of nonsense with this. And the fact that it was just so legitimate. It was so the gravitas from William Marshall. Like he was so sexy in this movie. And the fact that he was the one I want this character to not be I want him to be a prince. I want him to be someone of royalty. So the fact that back then he was lobbying to have his character be depicted in this positive light as a prince, and he was lobbying with the actual Dracula to end slavery.
Dracula's horrible in Dracula. He's the worst.
And that's the storyline they chose to go with. So he is this very noble guy, and just to see everyone in this movie is really taking this shit seriously and playing it right, and the romantic element of him finding her, and the fact that she should be terrified because this is not the same princess. This is someone who looks like her, a distant reincarnation of her. And the fact that he is able to, she's kind of freaked out at first, but the fact that he's able to woo her to the point where she actually does fall in love with him. And you believe that. and you believe how strong that love is in this kind of movie that should be so ridiculous. When when you were pushing for it to be on here and you looked at the genres and it said romance and I rolled my eyes, I stopped for a second and I played back the moments in this movie in my head and I was like, you know what? You're right. The romance is a huge part of the driving force of the story. So I definitely think it fits.
It
So
is.
that's why I had to add it on my list just because of the uniqueness of it. The surprise that we were really expecting this ridiculous, goofy thing, and it was actually really kind of a great story and great performances, and William Marshall really selling this and being just very kind of grand. Like just such a great actor, which just makes me sad that he didn't do more because he's so talented and has this
He had a
Laurence
big.
Olivier
Had a,
level presence.
he had a
And
bigger stage career.
yes,
But you are entirely right. The movie is inherently romantic. Like I said, none of you might think it's a silly argument. None of these characters. These are fictional movies. None of these characters do more than Mama Wale for their partner. Not even Donald Gleason. You just travel. What's traveling in time as opposed to coming back from the dead?
to find your lady love.
Yes, okay. My 1 and 2 of Blackula and About Time, as wildly different movies as they are very close. They're very close, 1 and 2. I think they are the two most romantic leads in a movie we've ever covered.
Yeah.
Absolutely they are. What sets this one on that next level is something you've already said. It's the fact that, oh my God, what is a big part of romanticism, Janine? It's you've got to be sexy. And I'm sorry, William Marshall oozes smooth silkiness.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's unbelievable. I mean, not when he's Blackula. When he's Mama Wale, yes. Not when he's Blackula and he has those weird sideburn things.
But yeah. He looks crazy, but
he looks, yes, insane.
When he's turning to the camera and that pan in I'll have a Bloody Mary. Oh, like
and you said Laurence Olivier gravitas. Laurence Olivier, Christopher Lee, all of these.
This booming voice, this presence,
so
just the sex appeal. Like he's taking this 100% seriously. He's not putting on any goofy kind of thing. He is this nobleman, this prince. And you feel that and you believe that and you're just like, okay, I'm here for this. And even the horror elements that really kind of, I think, like in cinematic kind of film history, that slow motion kind of run up of the vampire, that whole scene as well was like,
yes,
a new kind of awesome scene that people really still talk about. So
yeah,
this movie was doing really kind of serious things. It was taking itself very seriously. It wasn't being this kind of silly, over the top movies like from this era. So,
but it was taking itself seriously because it was serious and it pulls it off. It's not like taking itself seriously in a stupid way. And like why is this weird movie taking
like
itself
a Leslie
seriously?
Nielsen, playing everything dry in Airplane.
No,
it wasn't
not
like
at all.
that.
It's a straight horror movie.
Yeah.
It's a straight horror movie that you expect from the outside to be goofy, which is where the surprise element comes in that we talked about. But again, vampires, there ain't nothing more inherently romantic than a vampire.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, in their original form as romantic villains. Or as villainously romantic, I should say. Not romantic villains, as villainously romantic. Basically, the whole point of vampires is the fear of sinfulness.
Yeah.
And, oh dear, do not bite my virgin skin that is so pure and nice, Mr. Vampire. That's basically the whole point of vampires. But they have evolved, haven't they, Janine?
Yes.
Into more romantic figures. And Mama Wale is deeply romantic. And I I'm a horror guy. The horror movie was gonna win.
Yes.
The horror
I
movie was
completely
always gonna.
understand
The
your logic.
romantic horror movie was always going to win. You might think it's a silly choice for my number one, but I am entirely. This is not a joke.
No, I get it. I had my eye rolling moment when you were even trying to put it, but when I kind of thought back on this movie, I was like, okay, I get it.
Go and watch it.
Yes.
Go and watch Blackula. It's not Blackenstein. Blackenstein's the stupid one.
Yeah.
Blackula's the not stupid one. Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. That's another stupid one. Although, is that even a black movie, or is that just a stupid Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movie? I don't even remember. I don't even remember. Blackula's just great. It's better than Scream, Blackula, Scream as well. Scream, Blackula, Scream's a good movie, but
But yeah, this one
Blackula is one of the. Honestly, I'm not. Blackula is one of the best vampire movies you're going to see. It just is. So go and watch it. It's great, and it's deeply romantic if you actually think about it.
Yeah.
It's not on the. Well, it is on the surface. But you might just think, oh, it's a vampire movie, it's a horror movie. How can this be romantic? Just peel back one layer. Just one. Not like three. One.
Yeah, just one.
Just one. You'll find it. Blackula, my number one, Janine, which leaves your number one, and we shall all sing the American national anthem. As your number one is...
The American President,
which was my number 8, and I did have to put this on my list because, oh God, it's a good movie as well.
It's such a good movie, and it's like such a really interesting concept, like the most powerful man in the world, and everyone telling him who he should love and who he should be with, and him trying to defy that and say, I can do both. I can run this country, I can do my job, and I can still, find fulfillment in love in my life. Like, the fact that he had to fight so many people just to kind of have this relationship was just such a really interesting concept that you don't really think about. So just loved kind of seeing, and again, another romance where you see them have that time to build and grow, and the difficulties that they have to deal with, and kind of the political side being the issue that tears them apart in moments. So yeah, definitely loved a lot of the story of this, and just kind of seeing the insight of how this could work in this kind of environment, and the performances were really great, and just how the movie just looks is just so like pretty. Like, it's just so neat and pretty, and just great actors, and seeing them kind of play off each other. The friendship between Michael Douglas and Martin Sheen just felt so real. The way he cares about his staff, and so you loved this president, you loved him, you really cared about him and saw him as a good person. So when things kind of don't go wrong, and when betrayals happen, it's not because of any kind of malicious type situation. The chemistry between him and Annette Bening is really great. Like, they just look so good together, and there's some sweet romantic moments and some funny moments where the president is trying to buy flowers for this woman, and that's not even a simple thing. So in terms of just romance movies, rom-coms, this movie is just like peak all of those things. It looks great, great cast, great love story, a great kind of unique twist with an insight onto a dating life that you normally wouldn't even think about how that would work. So that's what makes it kind of interesting as well. So great character dynamics. So just everything hits perfectly for me with this movie. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, the American President.
Yeah, Marie Zambino again in the chat. She loves this movie too. I would ask you, Marie, do you love Blackula?
I'm like, she's probably like, what the hell is even that?
Well, I would then say go and watch it. But yes, not to discredit The American President. It is a beautiful movie. And again, it speaks to the unique nature of our lists and the movies we've chosen on these lists. It is an aspect you don't think about. It's an insight you don't think about.
Yeah. Like, how would the president date? Like,
And surprisingly, Michael Douglas isn't a grouch in this movie, which
yeah.
is quite surprising considering it's Michael Douglas and he's usually a little bit kind of, oh, well, I'm Michael Douglas. I'm a bit upset about everything, smack. And that's Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
That's my impression of Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas. Okay.
He is, though, weirdly, like, you found Michael Douglas to be very romantic, which isn't a side of Michael Douglas you necessarily see a great deal.
Not really. I mean, here and there, but like, yeah.
It is, though. I cannot say anything about this movie that you would not say better. Much like me with Dracula and you with Dracula.
Yes.
This is entirely your flaw to talk on the American president. It was number 8 on my list. I was perfectly happy to put it at number 8 for its unique quality, for its very, very, heartfelt romance, heartfelt couple.
Yeah.
That goes through tough times. Goes through, struggles, public struggles, far more public struggles than anybody else, than any other couple in these romance movies.
Yeah.
Which makes it harder for them in their own way. But a lot of these movies have been about, having a tough element, a struggle within the romance. Even Dracula, reincarnation, trying to make him believe that, yes, you are my wife. What are you talking about? I've come back from the dead 200 years later.
Yeah.
That's a struggle. About time. Going back in time constantly to try and craft the perfect life for himself. That's a struggle. Love and basketball. They kind of hate each other. They kind of also really want to be good basketball players. They kind of also don't both become great basketball players.
Yeah, and then some ego comes into play as well. So that's a struggle.
That's a struggle. This movie, it's a struggle. Something new, struggle. How Stella got a groove back, struggle. They get less and less kind of big, life-changing as we move down the list, sure.
But everything I think we've discussed all kind of has an interesting kind of dynamic to it. It's not, I think the most straightforward one was probably She's All That.
Yes.
Which is why I think we both had it where we had it, because it wasn't as unique, but it really tapped into that time period and kind of with all of those beats, but made it really kind of fun and still interesting to watch. So yeah, I think that was kind of the most one that really didn't do anything super new and exciting, but because like the cast is kind of on point, it really speaks to that era of time and it made it really fun. I think the entertainment of that kind of set that apart, from other kinds of generic romance that we've maybe covered on the show. And it made the list despite everything else we had on here having this really kind of cool unique element, and it not having a unique element but being just very entertaining.
I do like how these lists, Janine, have been very, very similar in one or two aspects and monumentally different in
others. We're kind of all over the place. So I hope you've enjoyed kind of getting a great mix of new movies over 150 episodes and have discovered some new romances that maybe you wouldn't have watched without this show.
Of course.
If nobody really knows the premise of how this show started, it was literally me just having a conversation with Morgan before Endgame was about to come out and him talking to me about how he had never seen any of the Iron Man movies, how he hadn't seen the Incredible Hulk or the 2 Thor movies. And I was just like, wait, what?
I had seen the rest of the MCU.
Yes. He had seen all of the MCU except those first couple films. And I was just so confused that like this big end kind of movies coming out and nothing about Iron Man's history. Nothing about where Thor kind of started. And Incredible Hulk is like not really that integrated into the plot, but definitely an interesting take on that character. And how have you not seen these? So we were literally going to do this one-off series where each week we watched one of these movies Morgan had missed in MCU, talk about it, and then we would go see Endgame and then talk about how Endgame kind of felt different now with the knowledge of these new movies that he hadn't seen. And we enjoyed it so much that we decided, let's make this a show where, and in kind of gradually discovering all of the things Morgan hadn't seen,
which
due
is
to
a
his
lot.
stubbornness and people telling
Not
him
just
things
stubborn.
to watch, and just
Excuse
time
me.
constraints. I mean,
Excuse
a lot of.
me.
I'm pretty sure Fast and Furious was one of those stubbornness situations.
No, it wasn't. It was a disinterest.
Well, we had situations where there was disinterest, or there was stubbornness, or there was just time things, and you just never got around to watching
stubbornness?
things.
What was one that was majorly stubbornness?
That people were just telling you to watch it, and you just didn't want to.
Yeah,
because people were telling you. Aside
I don't
from
even remember. I don't even remember what maybe the most major stubbornness.
Is it the Terminator movies?
Possibly Terminator 2.
And Final Destination, maybe?
No, not Final Destination was more of a disinterest.
But the fact that
I say a disinterest to begin with. I have now become interested in these things. Terminator probably was a stubbornness thing.
Yes, because Terminator 2 is just this huge pop culture thing. And so I'm sure people were like in your face telling you to watch this. So yeah, we decided to make it a weekly show where kind of I pick a franchise or a genre or an idea of different, similarly related films that Morgan hasn't seen. We watch them and discuss and kind of get Morgan's kind of new awakening to a genre he wasn't familiar with or a franchise he had never seen before, and kind of give him that new kind of insight on movies that are new to him. So it's all kind of this big fun learning curve of 150 episodes, over 150 films discussed. And so I'm really excited that we've gotten to do this show as long as we have, and that you've gotten to kind of discover so many new movies and franchises. Like that has been the funnest thing for me. And just even the fun of coming up with new ideas and coming up with new series for you to watch and kind of cultivating new groups of movies that you haven't seen before, and really kind of seeing how you react to those movies. So I've absolutely had a blast. Kind of throwing you into the deep end sometimes with brand new movies, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. I know you, and I don't think there's anything on the show that you've absolutely hated in 150 episodes.
No,
there were maybe things that you were not that stoked on, but I don't think there's literally been one movie that you absolutely said, I hate this movie.
No, I don't think so. But to be honest, there's very rarely an instance of that anyway. In my movie watching, I've not got it within me to hate many movies. There has to be a particularly grating element to a movie for me to.
Well, I think the worst one that probably got the worst review was probably Final Destination 4.
Oh, Final Destination 4 was dreadful, to be fair. Yes, it was.
And to be fair, that was not like one I picked because I love it. It was literally us just doing a series. It is why when we did Terminator, we did not do any of the sequels. We literally did Terminator 2, the Genesis, or not Genesis, the Dark Fate.
Yeah.
And then we did another Arnold movie.
Yeah. Because that's all that matters in the Terminator movies now.
We chose not to delve into the dreadful sequels.
No, we didn't. But yeah, of course, I love doing Morgan Hasn't Seen. Of course, I love doing Morgan Hasn't Seen.
Putting a spotlight on you and kind of putting you on the spot with things, which is not something you are a huge fan of. But I think in this format, in this style, and kind of just the growth that you've kind of been through as a film lover, a film fan, I hope that kind of trumps any kind of putting you in the spotlight of things.
And all we can say is thank you for continuing to support Morgan Hasn't Seen and everything on It's a Wonderful Podcast, everything we do on It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, whether it's Machine Mondays, whether it's here on the YouTube channel, if you are a patron, which you can become a patron, of course, if you would like to be. Patreon.com/itsawonderful1. Any way you support us by listening, liking, reviewing, doing whatever possible, retweeting and sharing the shows, helps us, and we are
tremendously. We're
it
always
really
trying to build
does.
and grow and just share, our thoughts with whoever wants to listen. So, yeah, thank you guys for the support, and hopefully, we'll get to keep doing this for another 150 episodes because we love it.
Well, the It's a Wonderful podcast feed is not going anywhere, Janine.
No.
So if not 150 episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen, there will certainly not be any lack of you and I on shows.
Yes.
If it is not Morgan Hasn't Seen, it will be something else. But Morgan Hasn't Seen isn't going anywhere for the foreseeable future anyway. 150 episodes. Happy 150 to Morgan Hasn't Seen, and happy nearly 200 to the main show.
Yeah.
Which, the main show's my child. Morgan Hasn't Seen is kind of more your child.
Yes.
But main show's my child. So I not that I'm obviously not celebrating 150 episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen. It's insane that our second show, because it is, it's the second show, it's the secondary show. Or is Machine Mondays? I mean, Machine Mondays is the third show that came along, but it depends what you consider the secondary show. It was the second show we ever
it's like
continued
full-on
or
show with you
produced.
and me, and
Has gotten 150 episodes deep. The longevity speaks for itself, and we are entirely grateful for everybody's continued support, as little as you may think it may be.
Yes.
We
I love
do
that
not
each of our shows are like 50 episodes behind each other.
Right.
Like Machine Mondays just hit 100. This is hitting 150.
Do you know why it is? It's because January is such a good time to just start a new show.
Yeah.
That's why. So everything's always a year.
Every January, we're like,
Everything's a year behind everything else, or 2 years behind everything. But everything is January. Like, I would never start a show in September. What a stupid time to start a show.
Yeah.
It would always be the start. If it was an ongoing, consistent show that wasn't like a limited thing, I would always start at the start of the year because that just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know anyway. But yes, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for sitting through some of the struggles we had earlier on in this stream today, and we hope you enjoyed this. I certainly have greatly enjoyed celebrating with this top 10 today. I've already said all about the things that you can go and do to support us. We are, of course, on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One as well. Support us on there. I am on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in there because, Janine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram at just the Purple Don. Machine Mondays Morgan Hasn't Seen, and It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show. You can find all of those on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. Of course you can. Of course you can. Thank you, everyone. Share it around. Share the shows with your friends. Janine, all your wonderful stuff. Where can that be found?
You can find me at JanineDeBean_ on Twitter, Janine DeBean on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can find that at my TeePublic shop at g9design.tpublic.com. And if you want to buy any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop at g9design.bigcartel.com.
Well, there we go. Thank you, everyone. I think there's only one thing left to do. Do I do what I like to do? And make Janine do an impression.
Oh my gosh, of who? We talked about so many different people and movies and characters.
Janine.
No.
What was my number one movie?
No, I am not doing a William Marshall impression. 3.
Yes.
2. 1.
Bye.